Welcome to today's JMC webinar. We're talking today about course creation and registering students for master schedule building in 2024 and 2025. If you can believe it, we're already starting planning and preparation for that school year. So glad to have you join us today. We're going to be working through the first phase of prepping the master schedule building and preparing a schedule for the upcoming year. So glad to be here today. By way of a brief introduction, my name is Chris Cooper. I have been involved in education for more than 17 years as coach, teacher, admin, counselor in a lot of different roles. I am hailing this morning from Western Nebraska. It's morning for me. It's 12:30 Central Time, afternoon for most of you, but I am as far west as you can go in Western Nebraska, looking at blue skies, sunshine, and sending it the direction of you all. More of that coming this way. So if you don't have clear skies today, it's probably coming from us in the next day or two. And Brian is on with us today as well. Brian, would you be able to unmute for a moment and introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about you. I'll just also mention that I joined JMC's team about 3 years ago, and I am the client services lead on the team member. I'm also a member of the training and support teams, and glad to talk to you today about scheduling. Brian, are you able to unmute and give us a little bit of your background?
Yeah, I'm ready to go here, Chris. My name is Brian Wall. I am a recently retired high school and middle school principal after 34 years in education, the last 24 as a principal. And I'd say for probably 30 years of that, I was a JMC user. I joined JMC last summer after I retired as the client services specialist. And I am coming to you from a quiet corner at the Iowa Girls High School State Basketball Tournament.
All right, thank you, Brian. So just like all of you joining today in the middle of all that's going on in schools, Brian, appreciate having you join us from the field, if you will. Please hold all of your questions until the Q&A session at the end of each section. If you do need to communicate with the host, feel free to use the Q&A chat feature in your webinar toolbar. And ready, set, schedule. Are you tired of building a master schedule on a magnet board? Well, you can learn how to use JMC's master schedule builder to lighten the load. Today, we will run through updating course names and sections and scheduling constraints, as well as how to bulk load students into rosters and allow them to register for electives online. For those who'd rather hand schedule students, we'll cover those steps too. So this is the first part in a series. Don't worry about the fact that we won't get to every detail on scheduling today, but please do look for upcoming webinars. We'll review those here at the end. We're just getting started with how to prepare for scheduling for next year. And we're going to start by editing course data. Course listening. To begin, we'll print or view a course data list. If you need a handy list of courses you have entered in JMC, you can log into JMC Office to run a course data list, highlighting course schedule information, course grading information, course teacher information, and many more pieces. Review current courses to make sure your course catalog is up to date for the upcoming scheduling season, or for a more detailed perusal, export the data to review later. It may seem obvious, but this is an important step because we know that our offerings are changing every year. So a review of that to keep things clean and tidy will make scheduling much easier down the road. To view or print a course data list, log into JMC Office and go to Schedules, Course Data List. That's Schedules, Course Data List. Step 1 is to select a radio button next to one of the following options to include the corresponding information in the list that you're going to preview and print if you'd like to, or export later. You can include just the course number and name. That's the simplest view. The course number and name expanded, which includes SCED codes, delivery method, and additional information. You can choose to include course schedule info, which will include term, period, section, and course enrollment, as well as teacher, room number, and additional scheduling information. Course scheduling constraints, that's going to list out for you all the constraints that are attached to a course, such as possible terms and periods that course can meet based on what has been entered by you into your database. Course grading information includes the grading weight and scheme and additional grading related information. And then the course teacher info is going to show the teachers who are associated with the course. Step 2, once you've selected what you want in that report, is to place a check mark in the only include courses with students enrolled checkbox if you want to view courses with students currently enrolled. That's great to know that that's there on the screen. So this is why we're highlighting it. However, as you're heading into next year and looking at cleaning up your course catalog for the upcoming year, you probably do not have any students enrolled in courses. So you'll want to leave that unchecked so you can include all courses on the list. Step 3, select the course number or course name radio button in the sort by box to sort the report. And step 4, select the ascending or descending options, the radio buttons here in the order by box to sort that report in ascending or descending order. Once you've made all those selections, step 5 is to click the preview button to view the course data list. You'll see a list like we see here. This is the course number and name option. Then you can click the print button to print a PDF copy or save it. And then you have various exports that are options as well. You can create a course export, create sections export, or create a teacher sections export. Helpful tip, printing a copy of your course list will allow you to quickly identify available course numbers and map out where new courses will fit. And we'll take a look at that here in a second as well. So we're going to head over to take a live look at printing or viewing a course listing. Okay, here we are in our sample database. All the information in here, of course, is not real. It's not specific to actual people or an actual school, but it is for demonstrating purposes as well only. So we're going to head to schedules. And we are going to, oops, I'm sorry, I'm flipping through all these. We're going to head to course and course data list. We have the options that we just talked through here on this page, a radio button here. The simplest view is the one that is defaulted here at the top. I am not going to include only the courses that have students enrolled since I'm looking to clean things up for next year. Sort by course number or course name and ascending or descending as you will. Click that preview button and I have a list here of all of those options. And one of the things we just mentioned is that if you were to print and save this and you're wanting to add courses for next year, I can see which course numbers are available right here. You can see course number 45 and 46 or 1044, 1045 do not have any courses assigned to them. So those are available at this time. And I'm going to note that as I go through here. This is a list of everything that is there. And some of these you would see if you're looking at your database, there are duplicates of things. This is the chance to clean that up for the next year. Before you start registering students, pull out duplicates. Maybe you don't have Science W, Science P anymore, make adjustments to those. Just really take an inventory of what the options are here. And as you can see in our database, we've been working with it for years. So like your database, you may have collected a lot of courses over that time. So it's a good chance for you to really take a moment, take a little time on the front end and clean that up so you're good to go as you head into the next year. Okay, so we're going to take a moment to see if there are any questions that have popped up in the chat or anything that you would like to add as well, Brian. Is there anything that occurs to you at this point?
No, I just would echo what you said about taking the time to print that report and going through your courses, because courses really do tend to accumulate in there, and you maybe added it, needed it for a year or two, and then not even offered it anymore. So creating space in that report by getting rid of old courses is a good idea.
Right. It does take a little time on the front end, but it can save you some headache when you're looking for specific things down the line. So now that we've taken a look at that and seen what we need to clean up, we're going to do a little bit here, a little bit of a review of working with course data in JMC. To successfully begin building your master schedule, start by reviewing and updating the courses in your database. That's what we have just taken a look at. We're to the creating and editing mode here. In JMC, courses are the foundation of your schedule and provide teachers access to the gradebook and period attendance features. Create or edit them by customizing course names and term types, defining grading settings such as honor roll and graduate credit, and removing courses that are no longer in use to hit the ground running when building your schedule. To add new courses or edit existing courses, head to schedules and course. Those are the first two menu items where we just were, but above that course data list is where we're headed next. It's the edit course data. So schedules, course, and then edit course data. Step one, enter a course name or number in the find field to edit an existing course, or enter an available course number in the find field to create a new course. So that's where we saw those blanks before. If I want to type in that number right now, I'll know there's an available course there as well. As a helpful tip, you can also enter the words available course in this find field to view and select an unused course number from your database. Step two, enter or edit the course name, term type, and any additional general course data to define your course options. Step three, choose required or elective from the required status drop-down list to prioritize required courses over elective courses during the scheduling process. This is particularly important if you're going to use the auto scheduling process. Then you need all of your courses to be designated as one or the other. However, if you want them all to be treated equally in terms of priority when running the scheduling aid, then you'll actually want to leave them all blank. So you've got to make a decision upfront to be kind of consistent throughout this process. It will make scheduling aid much more effective. You want to know if you're going to use the required status to determine those electives or required courses, or if you want everything to be treated with equal priority, then you're going to want to make sure that that's blank for all of your courses. Step four, click the Save button to update any changes. And that's really it in terms of working with course data. It's very easy to add course data. So let's take a look at that here. We're on schedules, course, and edit course data. I can use actually a drop-down list here to find options. I can look for available courses here if I'm entering something new, or I can edit something that is already there. We're looking at band. I'm going to take a glance through and make sure that I have an appropriate course name here. Any other pieces, such as if it counts in the GPA, if it should be included in teacher conference scheduling, if it should be viewable on the report card, if it counts towards honor roll, and if I want students to be flagged if they're repeating that course. For band, that wouldn't really be appropriate. I'm going to deselect that because a student could take band multiple years in high school. But say it's Algebra 1, you might want to flag that student just so you know that they've already had the course and maybe it was a mistake in the registration process. I'm choosing not to select anything in the record status drop-down menu right here. And the reason for that being, I want all of my courses to be treated equally by the scheduling aid and then clicking save. We didn't talk about it. We're going to talk about this more in an upcoming scheduling webinar. I'm thinking in March. I don't have the date in front of me, but we'll look at the dates at the end. But this is also the page where you can add sections. And once you've created a course, you can create that section indicating the term, the period, the teacher, the days that it will meet, the room it will meet in, the associated bell schedule. All of those details can be handled right here by creating a section. And then we've got the tabs to indicate constraints, state-specific information, teachers, details that we'll drill down onto for each of those courses that we create. So we're not going to spend a lot of time on that, as we will look at that in a future webinar, but it is good to note that once you've got that course created, you can immediately start to drill down and create a section or edit a section if you would like to. So let's check in again and see if we have any questions showing up. I don't see anything in the Q&A, but Brian, feel free to drop anything in that occurs to you if you'd like to.
So Chris, let's say we had one of those courses that's no longer in use. How much of that course data has to be deleted out of there in order to make that course a non-entity anymore so kids wouldn't accidentally register for it?
That's a great question. The truth is not much, but it may depend on your preferences. If you remove the course name and click save, it's not going to show up for students to be able to register. That's all you have to do. However, I don't want to leave all this data in because I'm still going to have a teacher associated with it as well. So I typically like to delete all the sections as well. You cannot delete a section if it has students already in it. So we're looking at this year here. If I went to a future year, I would have no one in those sections as we see now. So this is looking at 24, 25. No one in it. Now I have a delete option here for the sections. I personally would make sure that I deleted all of those sections. And I like to go to the state specific course and clear this out. This is going to look a little bit different for each school, but just to know that if I want to use it again, it's going to show up as available. It won't already be assigned a course code that would be state reportable in case I would forget down the line. It's not needed, but I like to do those pieces, the sections, please clear those out, and the state specific course, as I'm clearing that out, just so that I don't have to rely on my future self to make sure that I've double checked all those pieces. If
So
that
a
makes
question here from Jess. Do you have to add a section when creating a new course? Will it still be included in scheduling aid if there is no section or student added?
That's a great question. You are going to need to add a section before you can actually start scheduling students. So yes, you will need to add a section. Because that section, the way it's a good moment to pause, I think, in the scheduling process and realize there's two steps here. The first is adding a course to a student's schedule, and then the second is actually placing them in a section. And a section in JMC is the actual classroom. It's with a specific teacher meeting at a specific day, at a specific time, during a specific period within a term. So all of these section pieces are ultimately going to be needed, but the first step is going to be adding a course to a section. So yes, you will want to create a section. Even if you don't know the period and those pieces yet, you don't need to add all those details, but it's great to assign a teacher if you know any pieces that you do know. You can rely on the scheduling aid to create the period and the section also. It really is going to depend on on how your school handles it. If you want the scheduling aid to create all those sections, that can be done as well automatically. But if you're hand scheduling, then you want to add a section at this point so you can start to put students in it, as we're going to see in the next couple of our sections of today's webinar. Do you have anything that you wanted to add to that, Brian?
Nope, that's great. Thank you, Chris.
Yeah, as we're going to progress here, we'll see that we have 4 or 5 different ways you can do scheduling in JMC. So you're wanting to find what fits best for you. One of the ways is that students can begin to register for classes on their own in JMC Student. Students, Yahoo, you no longer have to worry about losing your registration form. Simply log into the JMC Student portal on any device and get ready to select your courses. The office will assign any required classes that you need first, but then it's up to you to pick the elective courses that are right for you from a list of available options. To get started, the student's going to sign into JMC Student and head to course registration. Step 1 is to select a course by clicking it in the available courses box to select that course for registration. Helpful tip on the office side. Well, this is the student side. I'll get to the helpful tip on the office side first. If you're seeing a message stating registration is currently closed, if the students are seeing that, then they're going to be contacting the office because the office has to open up student registration before they're able to register for courses. Step 2 is optional. They can select a course if they need to remove it from the current courses. So I've already selected courses here on the left-hand side. Then they move to the current courses box on the right-hand side. If I want to remove those, I'm going to be able to click on those to remove those as well. Fun fact, courses appearing in red, like statistics on this example, are locked into the student schedule by the office, and they cannot be removed by the student from the schedule. So that's a good piece of knowledge for the office to know. If you have assigned them to students, they cannot say, you know, I don't want to take this course. If it's an assigned or required class, they cannot remove it from their own schedule, but they can make the requests for whatever openings that they have at that point. So we're going to take a look at the student view here. I'm signed into JMC Student here. Course registration. I'm having a little bit of slowness with this database today. I'm going to see if I can try it again here. I think everything's masked here. Here we are. Course registration. And I see for the student I'm signed in as that I have all of these options. Some of this should be cleaned up on the office end because whatever is available here is going to be determined in the office. However, I see some courses have already been assigned to the student. Again, that's going to need to be cleaned up. American government, probably appropriate. First, handwriting, not appropriate. So there was a mistake made there for a grade 12 student. But I can go through and I can find some of those other pieces. Maybe French 4, add it to the schedule. German, not likely at this point. Government, and any other pieces, you see it adds it to the current course list once I select it on the left. If I mistakenly add something or I want to remove it from my schedule as a student, I can click on it again, and then it will disappear from the requested courses. And that's pretty much all there is to that piece. So let's pause again for some questions if there are any, or anything that you'd like to add, Brian.
Yeah, I'm not seeing any questions. I just, throw a caveat in there that we all have those students that are really good at following our instructions and can pay attention to the courses they should be signing up for, but there's probably those few knuckleheads out there that like to sign up for some things that maybe they shouldn't belong in. So it doesn't take all the responsibility off of us to go through their registrations, make sure that they're signed up for the right classes.
Right. Okay, before I proceed with the webinar, I just did want to point out one place where I can clean up some of those availability courses is if I am in JMC office, I head to schedules and course where we've been working here. I'm headed to courses to add. And on this page, it's going to list all the courses that I have. I can scroll through other pages here. We're on page 1 of 22. And I see that first grade music by Mrs. White is currently marked as being available for grades 4 through 12. That's why it's showing up on what we just viewed on the student side there. I'm going to deselect those. That should only be available probably to my first graders. So I'm selecting that column here for first grade, updating that. And then now it will not show up for my freshmen, sophomores, juniors, or seniors. It will only be available for first graders. You probably aren't going to have first graders requesting courses, but I can go through if you're a K-12 school or whatever type of building you're in and just make sure that that's true for whatever courses you're offering. 9th grade courses are selected here, 10th grade courses, each one has a column. You can go course by course and determine who it should be available for. Just as I've done for band here, I wanted band available for all my high school students. So I selected 9, 10, 11, 12, and then updated that course. So again, to find that, I'm heading to schedules, course, and courses to add, and then updating whatever courses I want to be available for a particular grade level. Okay, so now we're going to talk about we have a raised hand. I see it popped up here. So, maybe it was the one we already answered. I don't know why I just got the notification now, so we'll go ahead and see if I can get out of that. It's covering my screen. You all probably can't see it, but I want to move forward here. Okay, scheduling students as a group. Many ways to schedule in JMC. This is one of them that I find very helpful. A lot of them are helpful for different situations. So I use them at different times during the year. Bulk loading students into courses by grade or advisor is one of those methods. So if you're manually scheduling students one by one, it can be a time-consuming and tedious process. With the bulk load courses feature in JMC Office, administrators can efficiently load entire grade levels, advisor groups, or random student sets into courses, significantly reducing the number of clicks and expediting the scheduling process. To do this, we're going to head to Schedules, Develop, and Bulk Load Courses. Step 1 is to select one or multiple courses from the Select Courses box to specify the list of courses you'd like to load with students. As a helpful tip, you can always select multiple courses by holding down the Control key in Windows or the Command key in Mac while clicking a course. You can deselect by using that same process. Excuse me, something in my throat here. Step 2, click the corresponding radio button to select a group of students to bulk load into that course. You can select by grade, the entire grade level, by advisor, students assigned to a specific advisor or homeroom teacher, or by random to individually select students name by name. Step 3, click the load button to load the selected group of students into the selected courses. And as a fun fact, once you've loaded students, a message will appear indicating the number of records that have been adjusted to let you know that your bulk load has been successfully completed. So let's take a live look at scheduling students as a group. Okay, so I'm here at schedules, develop, and bulk loading courses. I am going to just say I'm looking at scheduling my freshmen. So I selected by grade level. I hopped over that first thing because that's the group that I want to work with right now. And I'm going to find whatever the courses are that I need my freshmen to be in. So it may be that they're all scheduled for Algebra 1. I'm going to also select, if I can find it, in English 1A. There we go. I'm using my command and clicking to add both of those courses. Any other courses I would select will show up here in the selected course list. This is particularly helpful at elementary or middle school level, but there are definitely times I use this at the secondary level as well. You may have all of your seniors in American government, and rather than adding that bit by bit by bit, you can just grab all those seniors, find American government, and add it this way. Gender, you can break it down male or female. That was a request from our users a few years ago, but I'm not going to do that. I want all of my freshmen to be adding algebra and English to their schedule. And then I simply click the load button, and I see that 44 new records have been created for 22 students and 2 courses. So that's pretty straightforward as well. Let's pause and see if there are any questions showing up. I don't see any. Again, Brian, feel free to jump in if there's something you want to point out.
So Chris, if
Yes.
if you were to add students to us or assign students to a course, that would be an example of the kind of courses that would appear in red on that student schedule or registration when they went to register for their own classes. Is that correct?
That's exactly right. Anything that we add here in the office, they're not going to be able to remove if they're on this page doing their own course registration. That's right.
So then obviously we want to do that before we turn registration over to the students so that we've already got them into those courses that we already know they need to be in.
Yes. Yep. It'd be good to do that on this end first and then pass it on to them to select electives is usually the process. Great point. Okay. I think we'll progress to how we can add students to a section. If you need to register an individual student for courses they will take throughout the year, the Add Courses feature can be a convenient and efficient option. This feature allows you to select all the courses that will be on the student schedule before scheduling them into specific sections. Once you've added courses to the student's current courses list, you can use the scheduling aid or schedule them into course sections as needed. So you will head to Schedules, Student, and Add Courses to start adding courses for an individual student. Step 1, enter the student's name or ID in the Find field to select the student you'd like to register. Step 2, click a course name from the Available Courses box to add the course to the current courses list for the student. So these are similarly named fields here, as we saw on the student screens. And then as a helpful tip, to remove a course from the current courses box and the student schedule, click that course name again in the Available Courses box, and that will just deselect the course. Fun fact, on the schedule courses to add page, we looked at that a moment ago. That's the page we looked at with all of those data pieces, courses to add here. That's the checkboxes here. It's the same page. You will find a list of courses that are filtered based on the student's grade level. So that's going to determine what's available both to the student and in this function that we're doing right now to add courses to a student in the office. This means that only the courses appropriate for the student's grade level will be displayed in the list. So that's another place it's good to visit and clean up. Step 3, click the Save button to update your changes, or click the Revert button if you want to clear any changes that you made to the student schedule. So we'll take a live look at that as well. Here we are in Schedules, Student, and Add Courses. I can sort by grade level if I'd like to. If I want to look at my seniors here, work class by class, then I can go ahead and use that Find field to find the senior that I want to work with. Working with Matt today. So these are all the courses on that other page that were assigned to or available to seniors. I can select from that list here to begin adding courses to Matt's schedule. I'm adding advanced math, anatomy. That is showing up right there in red. It's a different meaning here than the school page, the students page. The reason it's red here is because Matt has had that course taken. He's taken that course in the past. So it's letting me know right away. I'm putting him in something he's already taken. I can deselect again by clicking on that name. I can add other items as well. I've got advanced math, American government, astronomy, band, German 4. When I have all the appropriate assigned courses for Matt, I can go ahead and click save. If I don't like the changes I've made here, I think I need to go back and revisit some things. I'm going to click revert and just discard the things that I've made here. Once I've saved it, showing up, again, band is showing up because he's had band before. And this particular band section is not the one that we were looking at. See, it's double entered here. This goes back to that course cleanup. And so it has not been deselected on that course page. That band does not need to indicate if it's been taken in the past. If I selected the other band, we should see what we see now, that it was not marked to indicate that. And so we're good to go. So that's how that page is working. Again, we're in schedules, student, and add courses. And this is a quick way to select one student and build an entire course for them. I'm sorry, an entire schedule for them. Anything that you would like to add to that or mention before we move on, Brian?
So much like when you bulk loaded students into a course, these courses would then appear as locked into Matt's schedule.
That's right.
His registry. Okay.
Yep. It's just another way on the office side of things of doing that. Rather than doing it by a grade level, we're doing it for an individual student quickly here. That's right. Great. Okay. I guess I will point out a couple of things here. A very handy page that will be revisited in a future webinar is going to be this edit student schedules page. As it gets schedules, student edit schedules, and here I can place them into sections. I can lock them. I can add courses. There are a lot more details here, but this page is a little bit more cumbersome in that you can't do it quickly. It's going to be a lot of manual clicks to edit in a more fine-tuned way what's on Matt's schedule. So to this point, we're just really putting students in courses. We're not putting them in that section that will determine here the term, the period, the teacher, the classroom, all of those pieces yet. In this first stage today, we're really looking at getting courses on a student schedule, and in upcoming webinar, we'll talk about putting those more into specific sections. So now we're going to take a look at analyzing registration to make sure that you have courses on student schedules. Identify quickly student schedules that might be incomplete or flawed with the registration check report in JMC Office. Select a range of students, then indicate whether you're looking for students who have not signed up for enough credits or who have accidentally signed up for a course they've taken in a past year. Avoid sifting through individual student schedules for accuracy and check schedules for all students at once with the registration check report in JMC Office. To run the registration check report, log into JMC Office, head to Schedules, Student, Registration Check. Step 1 is to select the grade range from the grade using the grade from and to drop-down lists to narrow the list of students included in the report. Step 2 is to click the appropriate radio button in the sort box to sort the report by student or by grade. Step 3, click the appropriate radio button to display either the registered credits or repeating course information in your report. So what does that mean? The registered credits option lists the student's name, grade level, and total registered credits for every student currently registered for fewer than the specified number of credits. And that's where you will specify here, list students registered for fewer than blank, fill in that blank number of credits. The repeating course option lists the student's name, grade level, year the course was taken for any registered course that has previously been completed by the student. Step 4 is optional. It's going to depend on whether you selected registered or repeating. If you are running that registered credits report, again, you'll need to enter a credit threshold in the list students registered for fewer than blank credits field to view all students who do not meet that threshold. Step 5, click that preview button to view the report of students who do not meet the credit registration criteria. And then step 6 is to click that print button and save a PDF or print the report for future reference. So let's take a live look at analyzing registration. And let's take a look at that pathway again real briefly here. It is going to be schedules, student registration check. So here we are, schedules and student. That's where we were working with the edit schedules here before. And we're going to head down to registration check. I'm going to select for my grades 9 through 12. Since I'm in next year's, this will probably be quite a long list. I'm looking for students who have registered for fewer than 6 credits. I'm going to preview my list, and it's pretty much everyone at that point because we're looking at next year. However, once you're further along in your registration process, it won't look like that. So to see what that might look like, I'm going to switch back to this current year. If I run the same list for 9th through 12th grades now, it should be a smaller list, and it is. Still quite a long list because this is a demo database, but it is much smaller than our other list was. And that's really all there is to registration check. Again, if I want to use it for repeating courses, let's take a look and see what that looks like real fast. It's going to take a moment to scan. It's going to look for all students. It's going to go through all of their transcripts and then indicate if there are any who are now registered for courses that they've taken in the past. And I didn't break that down to grades 9 through 12. 9 through 12 should be much cleaner. So let's run it one more time and see what that list looks like. And then while I'm doing that, I'm going to ask Brian. Here we go. Much cleaner list here in grades 9 through 12. Again, a demo database, so some of the data is a little funny. Anything that you'd like to add or any questions that you have at this point, Brian? We're almost to the end of our webinar.
Not seeing any questions, just that looks like a real powerful report and process to go through. Make sure you haven't missed somebody or something in that registration process. Maybe a student was gone on the day you did registration. Catch those students that haven't signed up for enough courses, either intentionally or unintentionally.
Yes. It's nice to have all of that right here on one screen where I can just look through, here's my list of students to follow up with, rather than going through and loading each student's schedule and going one by one. So yes, I think that's a great point. So here we are at the end of the webinar. We have some JMC news and upcoming events. Oh, I think we do have maybe one more question. Do you have to edit? Oh, I am not sure why this keeps popping back up. It's the same question from Jess we answered at the beginning. So continuing on with JMC news and upcoming events.
We do have one new one here, Chris.
Do we?
How do you close the registration so students can no longer change their registration?
Oh, that is a good question. And I'm going to have to see if I can find it off the top of my head here. It might take me a moment, but we'll find it. I believe we have online settings under file and student access. This will again be reviewed in an upcoming webinar, but I'm sure we can find it here for you. Give me just a second here. It is not on the menu here that I am. We're talking about opening registration, student registration. Super question. It's something I haven't done for a while. This is one of those things that I'm always dealing with where you do it once or twice a year. So
Megan's saying up top, course registration.
Up top, course registration. Oh, there we go. We were in the right spot.
Thank you, Megan.
I just wasn't like, thank you, Megan. Found it quicker than I did. Okay, so I found it here under file and online settings. And the tab, as Megan pointed out, is course registration. You can opt for it to be closed. You can opt for it to be open, or you can determine the window. And if you do select the last option, you're going to need to select the calendar dates for it to begin and to end. Click save, and you should be good to go. So we are in open mode right now, and that was so that I could demonstrate those pieces. If we're finished, I go ahead and click closed, and students won't have access to that anymore. That's another piece you might want to double check before you roll into the next year as you're looking at 24-25. Because if you're still working on cleaning up course lists, you don't want this to be open. So it's a good point. Great question that you'll want to double check that and make sure that's closed for now. All right. Anything else that showed up while we were talking about that piece?
No, I think we're good to go now, Chris.
All right. So as far as news and upcoming events, here are some of our upcoming webinars. The first week in March, we're almost there. On the 6th, we have Take Advantage of JMC Sandbox for Schedule Building. So this is a fun way you can play around with something without touching any of your data or schedules if you have a sandbox site. On the 7th of March, we have some more Minnesota state reporting. So helping people with that process. The 13th, preparing for spring and summer activities. On the 20th, utilizing the features of JMC's collaboration tools. On the 21st, we have another look at Minnesota State reporting. It's a work session. So if you've attended that on the 7th, you can participate in the work session on the 21st. And then at the end of March, on the 27th, we have the next in this round of webinars, and that would be scheduling aid, conflicts, reports, and helpful tools for master schedule building in 24-25. So if you've taken all the steps that we are looked at today, you'll want to make sure to mark that out for the end of March so you can join. That will be the next piece of putting those students into sections. And then on the 28th, utilizing the features of JMC's refreshed new family enrollment portal. This is pretty cool. Dev has done a lot of work for this. It's the new look for JMC that's coming out, and it's just in time for those new families that are going to be enrolling in your school as you look at a new school year. And here's a more in-depth look at that. Rolling out soon, the refreshed new family enrollment. Is enrollment turning into a flurry of paperwork? Then you could use our refreshed new family enrollment portal. From 24/7, 365 enrollment access to registration collection templates, it's packed with ways to cut down on data entry and make families feel welcomed. If you'd like a tour of the new portal, reach out to training@jmcinc.com. And you can see some screenshots here of the welcome. This is the look. And it's very intuitive process. It's going to guide all of your new families right through that registration process. Bring, winter check-in calls are coming in hot. Doesn't feel too much like winter where I am today, but it might be wherever you are. Coming to a phone near you, our CSS team. They'll be calling your school soon to ensure you've got the JMC training and support you need to be successful. Also included a rundown of JMC's latest events and innovations. Speaking of those, have you heard about our robust new community messenger portal? You can get to know this all in one tool. So you'll be contacted shortly by your CSS, just like Brian and I are here today. We'll be calling our schools and checking in with them. So look for that soon. June conferences. This year, we're getting a head start on all the fun. Join us in Minnesota on June 18th at Plymouth Community Center and Iowa on June 20th at the FFA Center for JMC learnings, a raffle, and the chance to win a piping hot pizza party for your school. More details coming soon. And I will just point out that is significantly earlier this year. One thing we heard back from people last year was that August was a little late and a bit crunched as they head into the new school year. So we've moved up our conferences. They're a lot of fun. They're very engaging. And so you can go ahead and put June 18th and June 20th on your calendar and plan for that. You want to take out the latest JMC modules for a spin without messing up your live data? That's what the JMC Sandbox was made for. From experimenting with schedules to test driving tuition and fees, dig into all the ways you can safely play in the JMC Sandbox today. That brings us to the end of the schedule. Thank you so much for joining us. Thanks, Brian, for chiming in and pointing us in the right direction throughout the webinar. Have a great day, everyone.